Skill-based matchmaking is everywhere in gaming, but no other community seems to push back harder than the Call of Duty community. Today, we're going to be uncovering why Call of Duty players dream of easier lobbies. While some think that this is a new thing because SBMM changes in Modern Warfare 2019, it's actually been around since the game started. Just like with meta loadouts, players have developed new and better ways to get easier matches as SBMM has changed over time. And by the end of this, you'll see how much wanting easier lobbies is a core part of Call of Duty. New players or those from other games might wonder why some Call of Duty players want easier lobbies instead of facing others of the same skill level. The reason is deeply rooted in Call of Duty's history, where players have been rewarded with things like streaks and nukes for high kill games. This has made the desire for easier lobbies a key part of the game. For example, COD even referenced this with Christmas Noobs in its message of the day back in Black Ops 2. Players have always wanted to reach those highs, and easier lobbies are a shortcut to get there. However, how well these methods work can depend on your skill level. Less skilled players might not see it as much of a benefit. Over the years, players have used different methods to find easier lobbies, and some of these methods worked better than others. For example, playing off-peak hours when fewer players are online or removing downloadable content map packs before they became free were common tactics. According to Jack Fragg's video from January 2021, playing in off-peak hours still works relatively well. Another widely used method was lobby shopping, where players look at visible details about the lobby to guess its difficulty. Usually this means checking players' ranks, but in some Call of Duty games, you could even see players' win-loss ratio, KD stats, to help better make that decision. Ollie shows what it looked like right here from this gameplay from BO3, and Swag demonstrates it here in Infinite Warfare while he's playing with Mark of J. If a lobby seems too tough, you can quickly leave and join a new one. If there are only one or two skilled players, they might leave if you start winning a lot. I even covered this back in Black Ops 4. Until around 2019, when Activision decided to make it so that lobbies disbanded after a match. And I think this is part of their countermeasures to reduce the ability to get easier lobbies. Before dedicated servers were introduced to Call of Duty around 2013, players were forced to play on peer-to-peer connections, and this generally gave the host a huge advantage. If you played back then, you know what I mean. But some ways around this were either mess with the matchmaking or use a router to geofence. And we'll talk a little bit more about geofencing later in the video, since it's kind of made a comeback or at least gained popularity again. In 2019, a video by Sour accidentally sparked new interest in reverse boosting by showing details from the early access beta. Reverse boosting generally means lowering your stats on purpose to get placed in easier lobbies. Even though Sour's video made it popular again, this trick was already talked about over 10 years ago, which you can see here. Another similar trick involved joining matches with players who had low stats to find easier lobbies, often called session joining. When Warzone came out in 2020, players could access lots of data through websites and API to see things like lobby strength and KD stats. Because many people had connection problems as well, they started trying to figure out how they could fix it, and geofencing again became popular. We're going to start off with what a geofence is. A geofence creates a digital boundary that prevents your game from connecting to servers outside a designated area that you've selected as the player. Why would you geofence? Setting your geofence near your real-world location prevents the game from connecting you halfway across the country. This proximity is going to ensure that you get a lower ping, lead to smoother, more responsive gameplay. Geofences also don't come without their drawbacks. Limiting your servers that you can connect to may lead to potentially longer wait times, or not being able to find a lobby altogether, depending on what part of the world you're in. The API also showed that it could help finding easier lobbies, which that was great. But a side effect of this is that a lot of players left those sites believing that they were experts on matchmaking, even though they didn't really understand it as well as they thought. Also around this time, many websites started selling services they often called VPNs, even though they were mostly just services for geofencing. Early in Modern Warfare 2019, when players were still focused on reverse boosting and VPNs, some people had already moved on to another method that we now call two-boxing. This method is now widely talked about, but there are probably other tactics that are still kept secret by people trying to get easier lobbies. Two-boxing means using a second account or even more to host games for you, putting you in easier lobbies. This method combines two strategies, session joining, which we just talked about, as well as reverse boosting that's been around for a while. This solved one of the biggest problems with reverse boosting, which was that it was a lot of work and less effective over time. The new SBMM white paper from July 2024 revealed changes that impacted and made RBing harder. It currently uses 3 skill criteria: total match kills, kill-death ratio, and a new metric that measures kills compared to deaths by enemies. The new measure specifically targets the old reverse boosting trick of just blowing yourself up repeatedly. Again, another countermeasure by Activision, at least that's my opinion. I wanted to see how much of a difference two-boxing made, especially since we don't have the API for data anymore. I had an account that I'd used to test SBMM in Cold War and other CODs, which I worked on with Drifter, Sour, Exclusive Ace. The Cold War results leaned towards differences in ping, bullet registration, time to match, how long you had to wait in queue, and then also overall skill of the opponent. As a comparison to those tests, two-boxing was as effective or better than just using a low-skilled account. On top of being fairly easy to do, for multiplayer, you just had to join with a low SBMM account. If the lobby was not full, you could join on them using your main account, simply session joining. In Warzone, you can join a party with a low-skilled account, like your friend or another account as host, and then they have that account leave the party when the lobby begins to fill up. So it's even easier. You don't have to session join. In my first match, I broke my Warzone PR for kills, going from 19 up to 29. I tried a few more matches just to make sure it wasn't a fluke, and even tested it with other players in different areas. On April 27, 2024, I hosted 14 matches for Shifty, a competitive player and arguably one of the best players in the world when it comes to Warzone, and I knew wasn't already two-boxing. His PR before this test session was 43 kills. During the session, he streamed without hiding his screen to show the transparency that we were two-boxing, and it was clear we were two-boxing. Shifty managed to increase his PR 3 different times. Had 9 matches over 43 kills, so breaking his PR in 9 out of the 14 matches, his original PR, and held 42 kill average across the 14 matches, with his best match having 63 kills. This increases PR significantly, while showing that two-boxing in fact makes a huge difference. Many players now openly two-box on stream. For fun, for content creation, just to entertain their audiences, do troll videos, I don't know. Some people like this while others don't. As mentioned earlier, seeking easier lobbies is deeply ingrained in Call of Duty's culture, so this trend is unlikely to change. Activision will continue to counter these methods, but enforcing rules through their TOS is tough because they can't stop players from teaming up with friends who have lower stats than them. I hope you found this video useful or informative. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.